So I got the barn tin done on the big barn and got it re-roofed on the top. And my next project is in this little well house. We keep a lot of stuff stored in it. But yeah, this was a big major project for one person hauling a tin up. I had to tear off. They had this roof raised up real high on one side with 2x6s and 2x4s, so they could extend it out to put stalls on the this side of it. So I tore all that out and then ran that tin up there and screwed it to the metal purlings, and then replaced a lot of wood on the sides and replaced all the top on that side and around the corners, and then put a dusted on light on one end. But that whole roof has been torn out for 20 years after the tornado hit it. But I rehabbed this old well house. It had a cedar board and bat on it, 12-inch board and bat, and it had been rotten. You could see almost through it, but I put smart board on it and a new roof, and it came out pretty good. I've got a switch that runs from the house to this little light here and to this plug-in. It comes from underground. I have to cover that wire, and that is a dedicated light and switch for the little oil heater right here, which I'll keep my pump from freezing. I'm just running a little Harbor Freight pump here, and it'll come over to this hole here and run to this will be a frost-free hydrant here, and then the well hole is here. Now this well, I took a weighted weight right here on the end of my 100-foot tape, and that well is 100 feet deep. And that's when it hits bottom. It ran out to the whole tape before it hit bottom. But the water itself is 9 feet down. So I got look like about 91 foot of water in that well. So the old hose going down was 65 foot. So I'll put a 65 foot well I'll put a foot strainer at the bottom and then a check valve up at the top, and then I'll run this back over to the faucet for the outside, and I'll be able to water my garden. And I had to put on a new panel box. The old panel box was one with the little screw-in fuses, and it was rusty and it was horrible. And so I put a new breaker box, and this was a pain in the butt. I had to cut off this pipe, lower this down because these wires come in from the top. The other fuse box went up from the bottom, so I had to lower this about 6 or 8 inches, and then I brought this up, and this will be a dedicated 20 amp fuse for the pump here. They say it's supposed to be a GFI, but it's inside here, and I'm not doing a GFI. It's going to have a 20 amp breaker right there. So I'm sorry, electrician code, I know, but no one's going to inspect it. I don't think it'd be a problem. Anywho, so that'll give me water if I need it at the house. Underneath it here is a line that goes to the house. This house once did have a hand valve up top here that the house was run off of this well and this well pump here, but they buried it down under there and tore it off and before I got here, and so I'm not going to run well water to the house, not at this point anyway. Anyway, I'd have to tear up this floor and dig down and then bring it back up, but I'm not going to do that. But this is the project I've been working on. Is, like I said, I'm going to put this pump on a little bit of a platform and move it back just a little bit, and then I'm going to I've got a seal. There was an old solid steel with rubber gasket around it, goes down in this hole. There had 2 holes for the old pump, but I'll just use one and a quarter inch pipe that'll come up through here with a check valve right on this end. And this is a half inch. This cannot be. This has to cut. They did a reducer from this down to a half inch. This has to be a 1-inch line. The pressure gauge won't work like that. So, and like I said, as I'll run a 3/16 line from here to a I'll mount a gallon jug, a water jug right here on the wall with the little valve on off valve, or valve like this, to where I can prime the pump whenever I need it right through that hole. And that way I won't have to pour water in it each time. These Harbor Freight pumps, this is a bladder, and you just unscrew this, and there's a Schrader valve on the back, and you keep that at about 23 psi. And they're pretty dependable. They're about $200 new. I got this one for $100, and they'd used it once. But the newer ones have a switch on the top, but these don't run. These run about 45 pounds pressure, but they don't actually run till they need to run. So you can squirt water out, and then it'll run for a while, and then it'll stop. And so they don't run all the time. But since this doesn't have a switch on the motor itself, I'm going to put a switch on the plug-in that plugs into here. So I can turn that on. And like I said, this light here, when it's on from the inside of the house, and I have the heater plugged in, then I know that the heat's on, and that right there will be, that heater right here will be plenty, because this is a 2x6 wall and it's insulated, so it'll be enough to keep this from freezing. I mean, it's 74 degrees at Christmas time right now. So anyway, this is just where we keep some of our junk, but it stays dry. And like I said, now we'll have a regular supply of water here from the, say, 91 feet of water. So I think we'll have regular supply. And I'm going to put a little 2500 watt generator out here, that in case we don't have electricity, then I can run the heater and the pump, and that way we're pretty self-sufficient. I grow most of the food out here. Have been for quite a few years. There's my big oak tree. I just cut a big, huge limb off the bottom that was had a bad spot on the top of the limb, but that limb was about 24 inches thick. But now that's getting kind of cleaned up. But yeah, my broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and asparagus and cauliflower are doing pretty good. I need to come out here and pick. I have these sawhorses so I can cover it up in case it gets a little cold. But we've got a lot of broccoli on here, different places. Yeah, there we go. And we got broccoli down here. And oh boy, there's a nice one here. And we're just waiting on cauliflower and Brussels sprouts. But yeah, this is a good crop here. I threw out some turnip seeds, and I never even covered them, but turnips are growing just wild out there. The snow winter peas are still growing, which surprises me. But I just planted those for nutrients and nitrogen for the soil. I got another crop of broccoli and cabbage out here. This is all cabbage, and it looks like it's coming along. I'm surprised broccoli isn't very big. This all got pretty well stunted, I didn't get it covered as well as that here. But next year I'm going to put a round tubing arches over top of this fenced-in garden area, and I'm going to cover it entirely. So this will be a indoor garden where I grow my melons. But then that way I'll have an outdoor garden for winter, so I don't have to worry about the sawhorses. I use these sawhorses to throw ladders on, and then maybe paint doors or paint other stuff when I'm doing different remodel projects. But yeah, this will be a complete 24 by 24 indoor garden, year-round garden with lights, and I'll have some heat in it, a little bit of heat, but it'll be covered with a little dome, and I'll use some pretty heavy-duty plastic. I'm gonna take this top bar off and turn these pieces inward, and then throw 2-inch gray PVC over them, and then bow them in. So that's what I'm gonna hook my PVC to, is those pipes there. And I may buy some more of those and put some in between, but I don't know yet. But I think that'll work out pretty good rather than those cheapy kits. So this will be a good indoor garden. I just got to get rid of that big stump in the corner. I cut that tree down a couple years ago, and I need to burn that stump. I got a few trees down at the pond. I need to cut down big trees, and then I need to burn around the underbrush all around it. I'll have to wait till the wind comes out of the northwest and there's a possibility of rain, because otherwise this is a tinder box up here of tall grass prairie, and I don't rake any leaves. The wind does that for me around the fence. I'll probably just take a little squirt bottle, pump up bug sprayer, squirt with some diesel, and then light it on fire. So I'm not worried about it. But I got my plum tree right over there, and my peach tree's all trimmed up. My pear tree's trimmed up. Oak tree trimmed up. So I got my water barrels over here, the sunroom over there. So all my projects are wrapping up, and I've got a Super XL AM chainsaw that I'm about ready to start. So that'll be good.